Oh, welcome. Welcome, hello to anybody who is clicking this for the first time and is not familiar with my work, because this video title will actually be quite a bit different from the other ones. This is a little bit loud, hold on. I love this theme, but it's kind of loud. That's better, I think. Actually, I'll just turn my own volume down. Alright, so, y'all, these guys are fucking nuts. Oh, I have to fix that after this video. It's easy to fix. Just ignore it for now. I'll fix that. Anyways, these guys, Porygon line, man, they have a lot to cover. This is gonna be a longer video, so just grab a snack, get some water, and if you're listening, hello. I hope you enjoy. Yeah, I don't really know where to start. So there's a lot of like really giant things I need to address. So I'll just address the title first. Yes, you can evolve Porygon-Z back into Porygon2, over and over and over again. I essentially made a new item. It's called a hotfix, and the way you get that is from Porygon's ability database. And what? There was literally pictures here of them. Hold on, it's like bugging. Sometimes it does that. Come on, y'all. There we go. So this is huge. Basically, you use not even with the trading, you just use the dubious disc item, and then you use the hotfix item to change between Porygon2 and Porygon-Z. So essentially, they're like alternate forms instead of evolutions, which is fucking awesome in my opinion, because we all know Porygon-Z is like a virus because it's a dubious disc, and it's kind of funny. You like install the fucking virus on your Porygon-Z, on your Porygon2, and it becomes Porygon-Z. It becomes much more offensive. So essentially what you have now is two Pokemon in one, with incredible stats. They might look overpowered. They maybe are a little bit, but it's fucking Porygon. I don't know. I think it's fucking cool. They are extremely bulky Porygon2 with the Violite. As you can see, despite losing a significant HP number, it has gained a huge buff in both of its defenses, with 10 defense and then 150 base special defense. So 60, 100, 150 bulk with a Violite. Fucking insane. And it has actual resistances now because it's an electric psychic type. So yeah, all three of them are electric psychic types, which is excellent. Only other Pokemon with that type is Alolan Raichu, and I guess I can quickly mention that Alolan Raichu is actually not outclassed by Porygon-Z, purely based off of the merit that Alolan Raichu is actually faster and has better special bulk, actually better bulk overall than Porygon-Z. So it's bulkier and faster than Porygon-Z, much weaker, but when you factor in Psychic Surge, I believe Psychic Surge Alolan Raichu may be slightly stronger than Galvanized Porygon-Z, but don't quote me on that. I could do some calcs, but I don't want to derail this video too much because this one is already going to be very information dense. So back to the topic of Porygon. So God, these guys are so awesome now. So essentially what you have is database will also give you methods to farm the items for Technoblast and multi-attack. So when if you're using a Silvally, for example, then you can get the memories this way. And also Porygon-Z itself actually abuses multi-attack very well, and Technoblast, Technoblast is fucking insane on it. So that is a much later move, level 70. So you'll only be having access to Technoblast for like the Hapu, Gladion, and the League, and then the League is essentially, and then post game, which is that's a lot of battles actually, because there's a lot of post game stuff. But regardless, yeah, this is how you get the items for that, because there was no other place to put them in the game, because the only way you normally get them is post game from Aether Foundation, from Wick, I believe. And yeah, if anyone's wondering, also Techno will be available before the League. Don't worry, it'll probably be an island skin or a gift or something. But that being said, the one that Gladion gives you might have a secret ability or something, but yeah, it's super fucking awesome. This is how you get the items. And then one important thing you're gonna have to note is that before you evolve your Porygon at level 40, you are gonna need to stack up on dubious discs and hotfixes, because they go away after each time you use it. And if you're a good, if you're being smart about it, you would probably be switching forms very often. So you're going to want to stack up a bunch of those. And then I have all the level ranges for that, but none of these matter too much. Basically, the reason I split these up is because otherwise you would have a 1 in 17 chance for getting a specific drive, which is fucking annoying and tedious as hell. So instead, you can just get the Porygon gift at level 5, keep it at level 5, get all of the drives from the level 1 to 10 range, then go to level 11 to 20, get all the drives, repeat. And then from 31 to 40, which is the 10 levels before you evolve, then you can farm the dubious discs and the hotfixes. And yeah, the logic of the hotfix I think is pretty self-explanatory. It's funny, the hotfix like patches the virus out, so now it's back to Porygon2. And that is super valuable because you can switch from this monster, this offensive monster that is, albeit somewhat of a glass cannon, to Porygon2. And also, this just because it's the glass cannon doesn't mean it doesn't have defensive utility. I mean, it has moves, lots of moves, and it has an actual fairly okay special defense stat. And electric psychic typing actually has a good amount of resistances. So what I will show is, I'll just go to Raichu because that's the only one we have currently in the real games. You resist electric fighting, flying, psychic, and steel. And then you have an immunity to ground with levitate, so you only have 3 natural weaknesses, psychic type weaknesses. Excuse me. So that's just insane. I don't really know. I want to talk about everything. There's so much stuff. So that's the logic of database, all right? Database is also technically usable in battle because it's made from pickup. So pickup also steals items that the opponent has used. So for example, if your opponent ate a citrus berry, you can then pick up a citrus berry at the end of the turn. So that's like a niche little thing, but overall you probably want levitate. But if they have no ground move, then you may as well use database. Maybe your Violite gets knocked off. Speaking of, keeping Porygon until level 40 is not hard at all anymore because its stats are so much better to the point where it's actually pretty much a weaker version of vanilla Porygon2. So I'll go back. So Porygon2 had 90 defense, 95 special defense. Porygon now has 75 defense and 100 special defense. So it's pretty similarly bulky and it's pretty strong. So this is not like a bad Pokemon at all. But with a Violite, like base Porygon is very solid, very bulky, very good. Very bulky actually, despite the 60 base HP. Also, all 3 of them have 60 base HP because, I mean, in my opinion, like they're made out of code and they're like virtual Pokemon, and also they're all the same size basically. I believe Porygon is actually bigger than Porygon2 and Porygon-Z because of the whole technology is getting more advanced from Porygon to Porygon2. So that's the logic there. That's why they all have 60 base HP. Also, because then the form change is a little bit less jarring. Gaining HP upon full change of forms would be kind of awkward. Not that it wouldn't work. It actually does work. I tested it in game, but I'm not into it. And yes, if you're wondering, I did test all of this, so it all functions properly in game. You can actually genuinely, in fact, I could literally show you guys. I will literally show you guys. All right, I'll literally show you guys quickly, just to demonstrate that it really does work. Ignore the whole team of stuff I was testing things. To do by name. Dubious disc. Well, actually, sorry, I'll be using the hotfix for these guys. Let's patch them up real quick. Where the heck is H? Well, don't tell me it organizes by the... Oh, fuck. Don't tell me it organizes by the, Really? Oh, wait, I did change it in game though. Oh, I haven't made a patch yet, that's why. I did change any of this in game. I changed the item description and everything. It's just currently in the test files, I haven't rebuilt the ROM yet, so that's why it's still listed as upgrade. But this is function. This is a hotfix, all right? It's based off the upgrade, obviously. I just renamed it and then changed the item description. So, yep, there you go. And this is how you change forms. And you would just, ideally you would have a stack of like 99 of those. And then here's the dubious disc. There you go, and you can just do that over and over and over again. Also, something else that is not currently in this rebuild ROM is the evolution moves. These are a big deal. So basically, each form has 3 moves that it'll try to learn every time you change forms, which might seem annoying, but it's actually really good because of no move learner. So there are really good moves that you can actually remove when you change into Porygon-Z and then reteach when you change back into Porygon-2 infinitely, over and over and over again, which is invaluable. There's no healing items in the hack, so you have reliable recovery with recharge, parabolic charge, and recover. Obviously, recover being the most reliable. Recover is just flat 50%. Recharge heals you by 1/3, but the power of your next electric type move is doubled. So recharge is definitely better than recover in a lot of situations, but obviously recover is still more reliable for healing specifically. But again, recharge is great. You can use recharge and then click like shockwave after, for example, and kill something, or volt switch out. That's really good as well. But also, no more adaptability. So I'll cover their abilities now, and then I'll talk about the evolution moves because those are great. And then the stats, like, I mean, I don't. It's fucking nuts. I'm not gonna lie. Like, Porygon2 was already really fucking bulky, and now with the special defense, especially, oh, I think physically it might be maybe slightly bulkier or even slightly less bulky because of the HP loss. But on the special side, it is immensely bulky, which is good, and it's actually kind of needed because of all of the massive power in the hack. I think it's nice to just have this Mon that can just absorb hits. And it's not a pushover offensively, it's actually very strong, 105 special attack, and you have stuff like Nasty Plot and Calm Mind and Charge Beam and all this other stuff to boost it up. So it's not a pushover, it's not passive. Also, Parabolic Charge is great on both forms, but especially Porygon2 because it's basically Electric type Giga Drain, only it's 70 base power, but it's Electric type Giga Drain otherwise, which is really nice to have. But I digress for now. I'll talk about the move pools later. I want to talk about the abilities next. So what you're going to be doing, you're going to be swapping between these two forms, again, whenever the hell you need to. So, oh, I need an offensive Mon, let me use Porygon-Z. I need a bulkier Mon, I need Porygon2. It's up to you how often you want to switch, you know, the sky's the limit with this. So it's nuts. It's really, really good. But with the evolution moves as well, which I'll cover in a little bit, it becomes even better. And also, it's just so awesome. I love Porygon. If you can't tell, I am a little bit biased here. But I'm actually not worried about them being overly overpowered because there's still stuff that's stronger than Porygon-Z. There's stuff that's faster and stronger. There's stuff that is... also, when you're fighting it yourself, like, you might be looking at this like, how the fuck am I supposed to beat this? I don't know. It's almost like half the fucking offensive Pokemon in the game get Sucker Punch at first impression now by a TM. And it's super effective on Porygon-Z, so all you gotta do is just click it. Just click first impression and it's probably dead. You know, it's not a big deal. You'll be fine. Just think outside the box. There's tons of other ways to beat it. You can run Scarf Mons, you can run Focus Dash, you can run a super effective Weakening Berry, any, you know, Assault Vest, whatever the fuck you want to do. It's not that hard to beat, all right? It's not, I mean, obviously in a 6v6, you might end up losing your check, you might end up losing your answer, but you got to play smartly. You know, you can't throw away your first impression Mon or whatever. And like I said, almost all of the physical attackers in the hack get first impression. A vast majority of them get first impression, so yeah, and then Sucker Punch a lot of them get as well. And of course you have other priority moves and Scarf, other ways to outplay it. As for Porygon2, that one you just gotta break through it. You have to break through the bulk. It's not hard to outplay the AI, although if I gave it like Volt Switch on a trainer with the Violet set, that could be kind of, it could start to get annoying because yeah, you're switching out and stuff, you know, breaking momentum and whatnot. Breaking your momentum as the opponent. So that being said, you have a custom ability on Porygon2 as well, and you might be looking at this and be like, well, why doesn't Porygon-Z have a custom ability then? Reason being, number one, they don't keep adaptability for obvious reasons, because look at these stats, look at the typing. I mean, even just having Electric Psychic with all that adaptability would be overpowered as hell. So Galvanize is much more balanced. Levitate is great. With Infinite Ability Capsule, you can just toggle that on and off when you need it. Even if you weren't weak to ground, it's still useful, but you are weak to ground, so obviously it's really good there. That means that you can only hit it with basically, like, essentially it nullifies the ground type, the electric typing weaknesses. So you're basically just a pure psychic type off when it comes to resistances. Sorry, when it comes to weaknesses, rather. Let me make sure I'm recording also. I'm sure I am, but I just want to make sure. Yes, I am. So, yeah, so super bulky on Porygon2, super strong. Debug is an ability that is renamed from Mummy, and so what that is essentially that lets you override any ability that you make contact with. So because of how fucking bulky you are, having Debug and just deleting abilities upon contact is excellent, and that actually can spread. So you can use that in a lot of creative ways, or it could actually hinder you. For example, if you want to debug them on and then switch out, and now, oh shit, wait, I actually removed my Moxie or whatever the fuck, now I can't Snowball anymore or whatever it is. So you got to be careful with that, but obviously overall it's really, really useful, and it's also super disruptive for the AI to have this. Like, trainers using Debug Porygon2 a Violet is really good, and that's a great alternative over Levitate. If whatever you're fighting, if whatever you need your Porygon2 to fight doesn't have a strong ground type move, then you can just run Debug. So again, it's situational. Swap the abilities as needed. Same thing with Galvanize, and also the reason for Galvanize is because I kind of wanted Porygon-Z to be able to still use normal type moves strongly, because a lot of them are very signature to Porygon-Z in my opinion. Like Hyper Beam, for example, and Techno Blast, and Tri Attack, and all these great moves which I'll cover. Trust me, I'll get to them, and they're fucking insane with 150 base special attack. Also, logically, like, it makes another cool thing you might have noticed actually is the stats. So defense is halved when you change into Porygon-Z. Special defense is halved when you change into Porygon-Z. Speed is doubled when you change into Porygon-Z. And special attack, the 5 switches with the 0. So it goes from 105 to 150. So that's a really cool little thing there. HP stays the same. Attack just stays at 80 because... actually, I think Z had 85 attack. I messed up the stats. No, it had 80. I was right. So yeah, I kept 80 attack because... just space out total reasons, and also because physical or mixed Porygon-Z is actually viable still, but I'll cover that in a little bit. That's the reason for Galvanize, though, over, like, for example, Download doesn't exist anymore, Download is now Instinct, but, for example, you might be thinking, oh, well, why not some other custom ability? Or something else people might be thinking is, how come this, you couldn't have made Debug, like, on virus spreading, for example? That was a really cool idea I had, but it's shit. Because it's like Perish Body on Cursula. Like, oh, it's a really cool ability and it's actually very powerful, but the Mon has shit defense, so what's the point? You know, it wouldn't be useless or anything. It would just be kind of underwhelming. Galvanize is a lot cooler. I like having Debug on the actual bulky one that can actually like negate abilities reliably and heal off the damage you took. So that's great. You also have Parting Shot for more utility stuff. Great utility. I'll cover that in a little bit though. Yeah, Debug is great. Is my point. Super useful on Porygon2 with a highlight. Super useful. For example, oh crap, this Pokemon has Ruthless. You know, they're critting the shit out of my entire team, and I can't intimidate them, and I don't know what to do. I can't drop their stats. They're killing everything. Oh no! Swap your Porygon2 in. They make contact. Boom. No more Ruthless. Now they're neutered. They're dealing so much less damage. Obviously they'll still be critting every time, but their damage is not boosted by 50%. There's tons of other great things. I'll literally just scroll up. Look, I'll literally show you guys. Oh, for example, oh, this Reckless Tauros. Oh, well, no more Reckless. Oh no, this Hustle Pinsir. No more Hustle. Oh no, this Proficiency Electivire. Oh, no more Proficiency. You know, you guys get the idea, all right? It's really useful to just delete abilities on contact, so that's great. That being said, I think that's about it in terms of the logic of the abilities and the way those function. I can talk about Galvanize and specific stuff, but first I want to talk about the evolution moves. So basically, Porygon2, every time you, so for example, let's say you have Porygon-Z right now and you use a hotfix on your Porygon-Z. Now it's going to have Recover, it's going to try to learn Recover, Speed Swap, and Psychic Terrain every time. And let's say you have a Porygon2 and you use a Dubious Disc on it, you're going to be trying to learn Swift, Multi-Attack, and Extreme Speed every single time. Extreme Speed with Galvanize is useful despite having almost double special attack base stat. Physical sets are still useful. Extreme Speed is obviously great, so that's nice and cool to have. And then Multi-Attack. So what I did with Multi-Attack and Technoblast are... if this would load, please. Thank you. They should be around here. Yeah, so Multi-Attack and Technoblast are the same move, just Multi-Attack can be any type with the memories, and then Technoblast can be Ice, Fire, Water, or Electric. Electric being useless, or Electric Technoblast being mostly useless. Although you could use Levitate Technoblast with like Shock Drive for stab, I guess, but I don't know why you would do that. Ice is also not that great because you have Lizard, although Ice type Technoblast is much more accurate. So if you're worried about that, especially with Porygon, because of how frail you are, Porygon-Z, you might not want to miss. I wouldn't recommend using inaccurate moves personally, just because you don't need the power boost from the inaccurate moves. Although AI will definitely be using the shed of them, because a miss counts for much more as the trainer than AI, especially in a Nuzlocke. One miss can mean death, you know. If you're not doing a Nuzlocke, then go crazy, use whatever the fucking moves you want. But I would intend Nuzlocks, or at least I've designed it around hardcore Nuzlocks. But yeah, Technoblast and Multi-Attack, basically they are 120 base power and they always drop defense or special defense respectively. So Multi-Attack is physical, but you learn it upon evolution, versus Technoblast is special, but you learn it at level 70. So that's the main difference. And also Technoblast can be less types than Multi-Attack. So with Galvanize, Technoblast and Multi-Attack become 144 base power moves that always drop the stat that they're hitting. So special defense with Technoblast always gets dropped. Multi-Attack with physical defense always gets dropped. So that is already excellent. At level 40, having a 144 base power electric move, physically, even though you have so much more special attack, that makes physical Porygon genuine, or at least mixed Porygon-Z genuinely viable, which is really awesome to have. And the beautiful thing is, this can become any type, and you will learn it every single time you change forms. So normally you might argue, oh well, Multi-Attack is cool, or Extreme Speed is cool, but it's kind of a waste of a move slot. And I would agree with you, it is kind of a waste of a move slot because of all the other moves you're going to want or need without Relearner. Obviously you have all these TMs that are great, but a lot of the level ups are really useful. So when you switch into Porygon2, oh, let me teach Recover now because I want the healing. Versus with Porygon-Z, let me ditch recover for Swift or Extreme Speed or whatever the hell you want, so that's really awesome to have. As for multi-attack, every time you switch forms, you could do that multiple times per level. It's not like the other evolution items where, like with the gem, is where it's level up while you're holding it. Also, if you're wondering, I wanted to make the gems usable items, but the issue there is that I can't control the level at which you get the Pokemon, because the gems will be purchasable much earlier than a lot of these Pokemon will evolve at, so I couldn't do it. Like balance-wise, it would be too overpowered to have all those mons early on. That's the main reason I changed the stones in general, was to control when the player gets access to certain Pokemon. But with Porygon's case, I can actually restrict it so Dubious Disc and hotfixes are only available via database, Porygon's ability database. So starting at level 40 is when you can start farming databases. Actually, sorry, level 31 to 40. So therefore, oh shit, I didn't think. No, I did think. Because your Porygon won't evolve until 40, and then by 40 you'll have farmed up a bunch of Dubious Discs and hotfixes. So yeah, for a second I got worried, like, oh shit, wait, you could evolve as soon as you hit level 30 or 31. No, because you can't use a hotfix or Dubious Disc on Porygon, only on Porygon2 or Z. This is such a cool change, one of the most creative changes. I guarantee you, I would be very surprised if another hack. I mean, that goes for a lot of my changes, not to brag, but I'm definitely proud of a lot of the creativity I've been putting into this and a lot of the specific effort that other hacks have never really bothered to do. A lot of people might think it's overwhelming, a lot of people might think it's too much, and that's totally respectable, and I respect your opinion, and you don't have to play it if you think it's too much or the changes are overwhelming. I can totally understand just wanting to play a ROM hack with slightly buffed Pokemon and harder boss fights. I personally think those are kind of lazy. That's my personal opinion. I'm not nothing against people who enjoy it, but I digress. This is not time for ranting. This is time for talking. So, about relevant stuff. You have so much good stuff. It's so awesome. I mean, like, you have utility. I'm going to go over every single move in a second, I promise. But yeah, Speed Swap and Psychic Terrain are also learned upon Form Change into Porygon2, mostly because they're very situational, so being able to just pick and choose when you want those moves at will, literally, like, they're basically like TMs, You can just reteach that move infinitely, almost. Basically, as long as you racked up enough of the upgrades and databases. Sorry, databases and Dubious Discs, rather. As long as you did that, then you're good. You're big chillin'. You can just reteach it over and over again. So Speed Swap is useful because I believe I made a priority as well, which is neat, interesting. It has 60 base speed, so you can actually steal another Pokemon's base speed and become super bulky and super fast and super strong. So that's really useful. It's situational, of course, but it's genuinely actually useful, especially if you want to use like a Speed Swap stat with like Calm 9, for example. That's useful. Yeah, it is priority. So that is really good to have. Another interesting thing I didn't mention yet is that multi-attack on Porygon-Z is great because you can, in fact, become any type. So there's a lot of coverage types that Porygon-Z doesn't get. There's a lot that it does get. Oh god, hold on. Gotta scroll all the way back, sorry y'all. There's a lot that it does get. I mean, here, I'll literally cover it all right now. It gets Psychic and Electric Dual Stab, obviously. It gets Fire type with Detonate. It has also Weather Ball in the sun, and then Solar Beam for grass, technically, but those are obviously situational and only under certain conditions. Same goes for water coverage with Douse Drive or fire coverage with Burn Drive, and also that's only on level 70, so it's good coverage. Don't get me wrong, but it's very late game. So in terms of reliable coverage, like standard, regular, you can just click the move and it becomes that type instantly. Dazzling Gleam for Fairy, Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball for Ghost and Dark. Fighting for Aura Sphere and Focus Blast. Excuse me, I misspoke, but you understand the point. Ice Beam and Blizzard for Ice, of course, which is excellent. One of the best coverages on it, Volt Beam and whatnot. Flash Cannon for Steel, and which is obviously 110 base power, 90% accurate. Super powerful move. 50% of the time it drops physical defense as well, so that's very powerful. And that's basically all the coverage you have, which isn't bad. Oh, and then Signal Beam for your bug is useful as well. That's about it. And you have hidden power and stuff, but yeah, that's all you need, really. I mean, that covers all bases for the most part, but it would be nice to have, for example, oh crap, there's a Swampert or something. Let me run Grass-type multi-attack on my Porygon-Z, because it always drops defense, and it's level 40. You get that at level 40, and then you get it infinitely for every level, so that's, it's never going to be too situational, because you can always just tailor it. As long as you farmed all of the drives and all of the memories, then you can just run multi-attack and just get a super effective hit on anything that resists your galvanized moves, for example, or your stab moves. Then you can run, the 4 times effective move on a lot of Pokemon. I believe it actually might even be stronger than some of your special moves, depending on the super effectiveness and stuff. Like for example, I'm almost positive that Grass multi-attack would be much stronger than like, I don't know, Psy-Shock or something, you know, on Porygon-Z. Much stronger. So I might have been almost positive. I am positive it would be stronger. So that's really useful to have as multi-attack. And also, of course, it always drops defense. As for extreme speed, it's a lot more niche, but again, it being niche is not a big deal because you can just reteach it whenever the fuck you want. As for Swift, that is mostly because Swift is useless really on the pre-evolutions because you have Shockwave for the same thing. Shockwave is +2 priority, 55 base power. Swift is 55 base power +2 priority, but with Galvanize it becomes 66 base power. So what you can do with Porygon-Z is just reteach Swift every time you change if you want Swift. So, oh crap, I'm using Porygon-Z. Let me use my Dubious Disc on my Porygon2, and I'll teach Swift for this fight because I want a priority move. You know, I want a priority electric move. Of course, you also have Influx for special, for a psychic type priority, but it's much weaker than it's 45 base power and only +1 priority as opposed to +2 priority on Swift and Shockwave. So, yeah. Otherwise, you have amazing setup, like I said, Calm Mind and Nasty Plot on both of them. It's pretty over the top. Like, I'm not gonna lie, these guys are fucking strong, but I don't mind them being strong at all. I think it's fun. I think it's fitting. They don't really outclass anything. Nothing is really outclassed by them necessarily. They still have unique traits. The typing is good, but it also is not that great. It does have a decent amount of common weaknesses and whatnot. I mean, it only has 3, but you know, it's not like anything insane. Excuse me, I had to yawn. But yeah, Porygon-Z is Glass Cannon, blah blah blah. Although with Calm Mind, it can definitely take some special hits, and with Barrier at level 62, it can take some physical hits as well. I consider giving them stored power, but I mean they're already fucking overpowered. They don't need stored power, but it would fit really well. So I opted not to keep it. They also get other really useful utility stuff. So, like I said, Speed Swap is useful to reteach. As is Psychic Terrain. Psychic Terrain is very niche, but if you want to use like Nature Power on your teammates for Psychic, it'll turn to Psychic. You can also use Psychic Seed to get a boost for like Unburdened Pokemon, for example, or simple Psychic Seed sets, you know, with Acrobatics. It's niche, but that's the beautiful thing is that you can reteach this at will. So, like, who cares? You know, it's niche, but in the few cases where you'll need Psychic Terrain, it's useful. Also, of course, it boosts your stat. Another thing is that with Levitate, I believe it is immune to Psychic Terrain's priority effect. So Levitate, Psychic Terrain means it's still affected by priority moves. But with Debug, it is not, meaning Debug Psychic Terrain also makes it so you can't First Impression Porygon2, or you can't Sucker Punch Porygon2. With Levitate, though, I believe it becomes immune to the terrain, so you can click it. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, Psychic Terrain is useful. Also, it gives you a huge 50% boost to your special Psychic moves, or your Psychic moves in general, rather. Back on the topic of physical Porygon-Z. So like I said, you have multi-attack, extreme speed, Solar Blade, Giga Impact with Galvanize, becomes very powerful, 192 base power. But you also have something interesting with Psycho Warp, which is a Psychic type close combat. Normally that move was learned much later. But I think it not only does it fit these guys, you know, with their whole like interdimensional, well, they can swap between the cyber world and the real world. So Psycho Warp fits really well. It also makes physical Porygon-Z even more viable because at level 43 you get a 120 base power close combat for Psychic type stab. Earlier than you get Psy-Shock, so like that also really encourages the use of and also the defense drop doesn't really matter because like you're already a Glass Cannon, you know. So that's really awesome to have as options. You can run like multi-attack, Psycho Warp for dual stab, and just kill shit with your dual stabs physically. So if I would say, especially if you got like a lonely nature or like a plus attack nature Porygon-Z, then I would say mix sets are really worth investing in. Or if the Pokemon you're fighting in front of you has a giant special defense stat but a bad physical defense stat, that's another reason to use it. And again, not Psycho Warp, but multi-attack and extreme speed are reteachable infinitely. So there's no downside to using it, literally none. As long as you're not deleting a move that you can't get back until the end game. That being said, you have other excellent things. Like I said, Galvanize is really powerful with 150 special attack. You have tons of coverage to hit the things that resist your stabs. You have, with Galvanize, Swift, like I said, becomes 66 base power. Commotion becomes 102 base power, and it always confuses with Galvanize. I already covered multi-attack and extreme speed. Explosion is fucking nuts. Explosion is 250 base power, but it always crits. So with the Galvanize boost on top of that, it becomes 450 base power, and it always crits. And it's electric type. So you can kind of choose between Detonate and Explosion. With Explosion being much stronger, 450 base power, and electric type with Galvanize, and it crits, meaning it bypasses stat buffs and stuff. You could also use like Psycho Boost into Explosion, or Hyper Beam into Explosion, because Hyper Beam is so Detonate is really useful as well. By the way, it's Fire type, 250 base power, and it always burns, so that's really nice to have as well. Obviously, the downside is your Porygon is dead, but with such a frail mon, you can just use it until you're about to die and then explode on something and get another opponent in. Although you also have Volt Switch for that purpose, which is much stronger and more reliable. But in a Nuzlocke, I wouldn't recommend these moves unless you are crazy, don't give a fuck, or are using Z Detonate for Fire Z move. That's useful as well, but otherwise I wouldn't recommend them in a Nuzlocke. They're just there for AI to have as well, because the AI using these are going to be fucking nuts. Speaking of, you have Hyper Beam. I consider Boom Burst, but I mean, we already have OP Technoblast. I don't need Boom Burst as well. Although Boom Burst does kind of fit. Hold on, let me drink some water real quick. Oh, Synchro Noise. Shit, I forgot to throw that on there. I gotta throw that on there. Somewhere. Crap, I'm not exactly sure where. That might be another useful evolution move. Because so what Synchro Noise does, it's 120 base power, becomes 144 base power with Galvanize, or 144 base power, but it always gives you +1 special attack. So that is an electric type move with Galvanize that can be used on electric types or psychic types. So 2 types of Pokemon you can get a +1 special attack boost on for free, which is a niche, but that makes me want to make it a level up an evolution move. I'm not gonna lie, it makes me really want to do it for evolution, so I'm gonna do that. I will. Maybe I'll get another move for Porygon-Z, Porygon2, so that even if they're not even, who cares? It's no big deal. I'll just make sure I add this after. Actually, I'll just throw it in right now. It won't take long. Won't take long at all. Let me just quickly throw that on there with Porygon-Z. Level 0, evolution, Synchro Noise, and then level 40 as well for relearner purposes. Alright, cool. So, as I was saying, that's really useful. But the really cool thing you can do is like, oh god, come on. Really? Come on. There we go. So, I was saying Hyper Beam with Galvanize into Detonate, so into Explosion, because Explosion will crit, meaning it'll ignore your Psycho Boost or Zap Cannon or Hyper Beam special attack drops. So essentially you can use Hyper Beam, which is a fucking nuke, by the way, with Galvanize. I mean, 150 base power, you can run White Herb with Hyper Beam, or you can just not give a fuck about the drop and click it 2 times in a row, because what that will mean is Hyper Beam is 160 base power times 1.2 becomes 192, right? So if you have it on the second hit, because you're minus special attack, excuse me, and you add that to the original damage and you divide it by 2, you're averaging 144 base power. The first hit is 192, second hit is 98. 98 is not bad, you know. That's strong. That's still strong. So you could totally just click it twice in a row if you want. Otherwise, yeah, run White Herb or something. But what you can also do is use 2 Hyper Beams in a row, and then you can click Explosion, or AI, for example, will do that. I will definitely have a trainer with Porygon-Z where they click Hyper Beam, and then they explode on your face, and they ignore their special attack drop, and they just fucking kill something. Obviously, ground types are a big deal here, as are Volt Absorb type mons, although they have Ice Beam, they have Aura Sphere, they have Flash Cannon, they have Dazzling, they have all this coverage to hit those Pokemon. That's why also I opted not to give them Energy Ball and Natural Gift. Natural Gift being because it kind of makes multi-attack redundant, although multi-attack is spammable and Natural Gift is only one-time use. I still felt like Natural Gift was kind of over the top. Also, because they're artificial, I don't think Natural Gift makes any sense for artificial Pokemon. Like, these are one of the only Pokemon that is confirmed to literally be entirely man-made. So that's one reason, and also because balancing reasons, I just don't want them having a strong, like, special grass move without having to have the Sun Up with Solar Beam. They do have Blizzard and Ice, which is also already covering ground, but yeah. Yeah, super fucking strong, dude. I love these guys. Other utility stuff, so like I said, Explosion with Galvanize is great. Hyper Beam I covered just now. Hyper Voice is an option over Commotion. Hyper Voice is 114 base power versus Commotion's 102. However, Commotion always confuses, while Hyper Voice doesn't do that. The advantage of Hyper Voice being it's reteachable and it's stronger. The advantage of Commotion being it confuses, and it's earlier as well, much earlier than Hyper Voice Tutor is. Then you get Tri Attack. Oh man, Tri Attack and then Technoblast, both of those are fucking nuts. So Tri Attack is 105 base power overall. It hits 3 times, so that bypasses Sturdy, that bypasses Multi-Scale, that bypasses Energy Shield, that bypasses Focus Sashes, that bypasses all kinds of stuff, alright? Hitting 3 times is excellent. And it has an overall 27% chance to either burn, paralyze, or freeze when you hit 3 times, with 10% each time. So that's a 27% chance overall. With the math, if you do the math out, it'll end up being 27. That's super powerful to have with Tri Attack. That becomes that's 105 base power with Galvanize. That is 126 base power electric move that hits, that hits multiple times, all that great shit. So that is insane. Super, super great. And then you also, like I said, I covered Synchronize already. It's niche, but if you're infinitely relating it, then you can only use Synchronize when you're fighting a Psychic type, for example. Oh crap, it's a Psychic type battle, let me use Synchronize and go to town on that, So that's good to have. Really good to have. Barrier, like I said, is great with Calm Mind, Nasty Plot, Barrier. Parting Shot is also a great utility. I already covered Volt Switch. A bunch of other little things that honestly like isn't even worth mentioning, but you guys know it's good. Like Pain Split situationally can be better than Recover. Also, it's really teachable, so that's nice to have because you have low HP. So Pain Split can be situationally very useful because you also deal damage while you heal, depending on when if you time it right. Neuralize and Trick Room are two other big ones, and then also Electro Ball. So Neuralize, also quickly with Galvanize, the last Galvanize move is Technoblast. Also, you have like random shit like Last Resort post game, which is like cool, but who cares? It's just kind of a meme. And also because I had it already, I may as well have left it on there. But Technoblast is broken. It's broken, but it's level 70, so you're only gonna have to worry about that for the league and a couple of other post game fights. Sorry, a couple of other late game fights with like Hapu and Gladion, and then all of the post games. So that's still great to have. Don't get me wrong. But this becomes 144 base power. I already covered it earlier in the video, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but you guys understand how strong that is. Stronger than Thunder, stronger than all these other moves. Yeah, Plasma Shot. I was going to give them Lock On, but I think they actually had Lock On before. But Z Lock On gives a +3 special attack, and I did not need to worry about that. Nasty Plot's already strong enough. You don't need +3 special attack Z move that ignores Taunt. You don't need that. Otherwise, it would have been really cool to have, though. Sadly, I can't do that logic, but balance-wise. I gave it to Magnezone because it's slower, but Porygon-Z is already naturally very fast, so yeah. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought a little bit. Oh yeah, Neuralize and Trick Room. So that's all the Galvanize stuff, so now I can just talk about other various utility stuff. So Neuralize is priority disable that lasts 15 turns. Only for certain Pokemon. So right now Starmie has it, and then Porygon2 and Z have it. So that's great. I mean, I don't even need to explain why that's great. You can instantly just disable any move. So let's say you protect to get them to use Earthquake or something, and then you click Neuralize. Now now for 15 turns they can't use Earthquake, which is basic. I mean, they shouldn't be alive for longer than 15 turns. Let's be real. So for basically the whole time they're alive, they cannot use Earthquake anymore. Only downside being that wastes a move slot, or not wastes a move slot, but it takes up a move slot. So it's very, very valuable, but it does take up a valuable move slot. So, yeah. Otherwise, you have, regular old Mirror Coat, which is good for like totems and shit. Also, because of how insanely bulky Porygon2 is, it can actually deal a lot of damage with Mirror Coat repeatedly, and then it'll cover it off. Although I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's useful. It's definitely nice to have the option. Trick Room. Trick Room is huge. All of the Trick Room Pokemon I've had so far are fast. Because I think Trick Room will be overpowered otherwise, because it's really easy to just shit on people and just like Trick Room and the AI can't do anything about it, Z Trick Room, for example, would bypass Taunt, and boom, now you're big chillin'. You can't be taunted, you get the Trick Room off, and now your bulky ass, slow ass Pokemon is also fast as fuck for free. Not for free, but you understand the point. So what I did is I made Trick Room priority to make it so the faster Pokemon actually get really good use out of it. So you don't need to run Sash Trick Room. You can actually run Fast Trick Room, sack the Fast Mon if you want, if you're not doing a Nuzlocke, obviously, and then send in your slow Pokemon. So that is the balancing I've done. Also, it's no longer a TM, so if you're going to want to get leverage out of it, you're going to have to waste a move slot on your Pokemon to run Trick Room. But Porygon2, as of right now, is the slowest Pokemon to get Trick Room. 60 speed is not super slow. It's actually pretty quick if you use Agility or Electro Ball or other speed boosting moves. However, it's the slowest Pokemon to get Trick Room, meaning it can actually abuse Trick Room itself if you're running, if you've got like a Quiet Nature, for example, or a Relaxed Nature, whatever the hell you're running, you can really abuse Trick Room nicely. And it's very bulky, so it has no problems getting the Trick Room up, no problems at all. So that's really nice to have as well. Kind of useless, very useless on Porygon-Z, although I guess technically you can keep the move and use it as fodder. Excuse me. Use it as fodder to get Trick Room up for a teammate, but kind of niche. Electro Ball. Electro Ball is huge. Electro Ball is weak on the first use, even with 120 base speed. It'll probably, I mean, unless you're using it on like a Ferrothorn or some shit, which is resisting obviously, but like, okay, I want to go to the speed tier guide. Also, that reminds me I have to add these guys to that, so let me do that while I talk. So Electro Ball boosts your speed. Go on. Each time you click it, it is 5 PP. Boost your speed each time you click it by 1, meaning that the next Electro Ball will be stronger because Electro Ball actually does factor in speed boosting, like speed boosting. What am I trying to say? Stat boosts and stat drops. So like paralysis with Thundershock always paralyzing means that that's also a really useful thing to have. Come on, really? There we go. Sorry, as I was saying, yeah, so Electro Ball is great to have on Porygon2 because you're bulky enough to rack up the boosts, and good enough on Porygon-Z because the first hit will be pretty strong. I'd say on most Pokemon, let's say like you click it on a Kingler with 75 base speed and they're running max speed, you're probably going to be getting 80 base power, 60 base power. The formula is kind of shit, which is why I buffed it, because the formula for Electro Ball is very bad. So it's very unlikely that you will be getting over 100 base power on the first hit. Most likely you're getting 40 to 60, maybe 80, depending on what you're using it on. But then the second hit will be getting 100, 120, and then after the third use, you're probably at almost 150 base power Electro Ball. So it stacks up super quickly on Porygon-Z because of how quick it is. And then for Porygon2, it's still really nice to have, and it's also good just for speed boosting sets, so you can run Electro Ball with Calm Mind and Recover and just sweep pretty easily. Where was I saying? Oh yeah, 60 base speed for Porygon2. I have to add these guys, sorry. I don't know if you guys haven't seen this yet, this is a very useful speed tier guide that I've been updating as I go now, just to see all of the speed tiers. Obviously that doesn't count abilities and stuff, but yeah, amazing stuff with Electro Ball on both of them. Electro Ball is useful on both of them for sure. Otherwise, you have other really cool stuff. There's a lot of other random things like little baby Z moves that like boost your stats that aren't even worth mentioning right now because you guys can see them in game, but they are good to have. I'm gonna get to Porygon-Z, and I mentioned this earlier, but I do like the stat pattern, how the defenses are halved and your speed is doubled when you evolve, or I guess change forms rather. And then Porygon-Z's defense doubles and speed becomes halved when it goes to Porygon2, so I like that. And then the 150 to 105 swap is really neat. That's why I settled on those stats, if you're wondering. Also because logically, these stats fit really well for them. Should be a 120. There's 3 of these now. And I see this will keep getting updated as I add more mons. So, yeah. I don't think there's too much else to talk about. I mean, I could talk longer about how these guys are technically overpowered, but who the fuck cares because it's Porygon and they're cool as hell. And like, they're still better mons. Like, it's not like they're like, okay, I'll run a couple calcs if you guys are curious. If you want to, if I answered all your questions, then you can leave now. I'm pretty sure I covered almost everything, but I will briefly talk about some other interesting things, such as also you have Strange Impulse for utility, -2 special attack, super great on both Z because of how fast it is, and 2 because of how bulky it is. So, you know, you pick and choose there as well. Here we are. So, I was saying, let's compare old bulk to new bulk. So, let's just put in a random Pokemon. Let's put in a Lucario. I always like to do Mega Lucario, but I don't know why. I just kind of default to them. So let's just do one. I'm not saying this is what Mega Lucario stats are going to be, but let's just say for the sake of argument that this is what they are. And let's say you're running max at both your offenses or whatever, right? And let's say you have Iron Tail. Actually, let's just do Iron Head and Mirror Shot for 80 base power reliable. Alright, so. Oh crap, that should. I mean, it's gonna be resisted, so I'll just do. Well, both of the stabs are gonna be resisted, so it doesn't matter. Let's just pretend that they're not resisted. So you got Porygon2 here. So say you're running, or actually let's do neutral natures only because I want to compare evenly. So this is vanilla Porygon2, and let's say we're just using, so obviously in the real game this will be halved because it's resisting, you know, Psychic Electric resists fighting and steel, but for the sake of argument I'm just going to do steel neutral just to see the rolls. So 34 and 33. All right, that's the max for, let's do min. So 29 and 28, respectively. Now with the new Porygon-Z, so 29, 28. 29, 28, let me not forget that. 29, 28, 29, 28. 31 So physically you are slightly less bulky. Okay, I wanted to confirm that. Physically you are slightly less bulky, but specially you're much bulkier. So despite losing HP, especially you are taking hits amazingly. And that's not even factoring in a plus nature. With that, I mean, look at that. That is insane. Meanwhile, if you wanted to do original special defense, I believe Porygon originally had, what, 95? Yeah, look at that, a big difference. 5 to 6% less damage, so much bulkier. That's the... Although physically it is slightly less bulky, I believe, if I remember from what you just looked at. So, because of the HP drop, but still super great to have, man. And also more balanced as well. Super awesome. I'm really happy with how these guys turned out. They're so cool. Not too much else to talk about, really. I mean, you guys understand how strong it is. It's not super overpowered, although it is one of the strongest mons in the hack for sure. But it's not, I mean, there's stronger mons. Damage-wise, there's definitely stronger mons. But in terms of like speed, plus power, plus coverage, plus move pool, plus the ability to be able to turn into a bulky Pokemon at will, that is definitely makes one of the best mons in the hack. But it doesn't mean that it's other ones are worse or anything. Those other mons are still very, very good. That's the beauty of it, you know? So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Super creative, super interesting, super fun. Probably a longer video, but there was a lot to talk about, so yeah. Let's actually see. So we're either at 45 minutes or only 15 minutes, probably at 45 minutes, so yeah.